Hi friends, I'm Jake.
And I'm Miss.
And we're Board Down Under.
In Mercurial, you and your friends will take on the role of mages, who are discovering new and powerful spells using the natural elements of Valinor, which is the world setting.
Casting these spells will allow you to perform heroic deeds, and perhaps even attract arcanas, provided that you can woo them with your dazzling displays of spellcrafting, that is. In a nutshell, Mercurial is a 1-to-4 player competitive asymmetric game in which players are going to roll plenty of dice, often play cards to manipulate those dice, then cash those dice in on spell cards to create a powerful spell, which when cast allows you to perform a heroic deed. That's an overly simplified summary of what this game has to offer. Now let's dive into detail and see how it plays.
Each player gets to choose a mage, and each mage has access to different starting cards, resources, and a unique ability to use throughout the game. From what we've seen, these do feel different enough to offer a bit of variety for future gameplays, but not drastically so.
After everyone's picked their mage card and got their starting items, but also after every time a mage casts a spell, that mage is going to roll their dice to form a new pool of elements to cast with.
We found the fun at the heart of Mercurial really rests with the combo and engine building-esque mechanisms that come into play when you're crafting your spells. So how does spellcrafting work exactly? Well, every player has access to the same market of spell cards, with the leftmost spells being given a discount to encourage cycling. There are many types of spell cards, but most will give you either some amount of ruin or restore.
No spell can be cast without the right elements to charge it, so you'll have to spend some of your elemental dice in order to actually acquire these spell cards. The cost of each spell is represented by the element symbols at the bottom, and as I'm sure you've deduced, each symbol requires a corresponding die to be placed on it. However, some symbols may instead be paid using your reserve of mana or acuity. As you acquire these spell cards, your overall spell is going to grow in power. For example, by playing these 3 conveniently displayed spell cards, you may perform a heroic deed requiring 15 ruin. Some spell cards are not as straightforward though. For example, golden cards will produce more when they are empowered with Aether. Some cards will provide value based on the number of cards that you have in your spell. And others, like the link cards, don't actually provide anything by themselves, but instead modify one or more of your other cards. Multipliers can combo for some seriously big spells. I've just highlighted some of the card types. There are more, and honestly I'd love to see even more coming out down the line sometime in the future, because it'll add to variety for your spellcrafting, which is never a bad thing. Another big factor with these is that even though the cards provide you ruin or restore, these 2 values are going to cancel each other out. Casting a spell of 10 ruin and 7 restore will actually result in a spell of 3 ruin, so you'll usually want to avoid this. The exception to that rule is if you can reach equilibrium. If you manage to cast a spell resulting in an equal amount of both ruin and restore, your spell will allow you to perform heroic deeds based on the equilibrium card that's provided with the game.
So that's spellcrafting. Now, as you may have realised, having dice to represent the particular elements can be incredibly useful when you're trying to maximise your spells. And you are kind of at the mercy of your dice roll. But Mercurial provides a way to manipulate these dice in the form of skill alteration cards. These cards generally allow you to convert one type of element to another, but many offer additional bonuses or flexibility. Furthermore, these alteration cards can be played for their secondary effect, which always lets you re-roll up to 2 dice, for less precise but often necessary flexibility. Each mage starts with some of these cards, and similar to the spell market, additional options can be purchased from the shared market.
Once you've harnessed the elements and crafted the best spell that you can, you're ready to cast that spell on a heroic deed. You'll be able to choose from the available deeds in a familiar looking shared market. Each deed requires some amount of ruin or restore in order to perform, so you'll only be able to do that deed if your spell amounts to that. The deed will provide you with victory points, and many offer sigils at the top, which can provide additional victory points at the end of the game, or even bonuses when you're playing alteration cards. These deed cards truly look gorgeous, and they do depict the deed that you're performing, but honestly, the thematic nature of the deed cards for us was kind of lost, and the cards very much became a numbers game, trying to get the most victory points. I'm not sure whether it would detract from the minimalist and beautiful aesthetic of these cards, but I would love to see a title written on there, or maybe some flavor text, just to help bring to life the deed that I'm actually performing.
Each game, you're going to have 3 randomly chosen arcanas, which can be acquired by casting a spell of a specific type. For example, the 5-tailed wolf will join the first mage who casts a spell involving at least 5 spell cards. Each arcana offers additional victory points at the end of the game to the mage who holds it, so this provides some additional strategy. After you've cast your spell, you'll take your heroic deed, re-roll your dice, reset your mana pool, and start crafting your next spell. Your mana pool does increase each time you cast, gradually building up over time and giving you more power to create more powerful spells. Any alteration cards that you acquired are permanently yours to cycle, but other than that, after each cast, you'll essentially start again with a clean slate.
And that's more or less what Mercurial has to offer. There is a bit more to it than that, but hopefully this gives a pretty good summary and an idea of how the game is going to play and whether or not you're interested in it. We have enjoyed this game. I think that the visual style, the aesthetics, the artwork is absolutely beautiful. It's bright and vibrant, which more and more I love this in games. The actual gameplay itself is a little bit mathy. It's simple maths, but there is quite a lot of addition and a bit of multiplication and that sort of stuff going on. You are just trying to kind of get the highest numbers as you're going through. Not a bad thing, but just something to be aware of as you're playing it. You might feel like you're doing a fair bit of number counting. What about the shared market and interaction with players?
So there's not a lot of player interaction. There is the shared market, as you said, so a little bit there. But other than that, there's not any interaction with players around the table. You're going to be mostly doing your own thing. But it wasn't too long between turns. You know, it did flip between us quite quickly. You get your turns done quite snappy. There was a couple of turns that took a little bit longer, but that's mostly us and our inability to make any kind of decision.
Oh yeah, we're hopeless. We're absolutely hopeless. Analysis paralysis is very high up on our list of problems that we've got, but this game avoids that a bit, so that's nice. Now, another piece that I really, really like, and I think we mentioned it in the video, but key sort of takeaway here is the spellcrafting. That being able to find those combos and essentially build that sort of mini engine. When you actually get, especially some of those multipliers, and you apply that to a card that's already earning 9 points or something like that, it feels great to pop off. So I really do like that area. The building your spells here is the key sort of highlight, the takeaway for us. On top of that though, after every spell, the game does kind of reset. It's not quite, you do get a little bit of extra power in your mana pool going forward. You also get to retain those skill alteration cards and that sort of thing, but when you reset, it really is just kind of a reset, and there's pros and cons to that. The pro is that it all but eliminates snowballing. It doesn't really matter if you get unlucky in that first turn and your opponent gets very lucky or anything like that, because the next spell is basically just a reset, so it's going to swing round, and that is a positive. But me personally, as if you know me at all, I do like kind of power creep during games, and there's a part of me that would love to see those heroic deeds that you get provide you some sort of passive ability, or maybe even an active ability, something that almost makes a persistent engine building mechanism.
As always, we recommend giving it a go on Tabletop Simulator, just so you can get a feel for the game and see if it's a good fit for you. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you've learned something here, and if you want to leave any feedback in the comments, positive or negative, we'd love to hear it. And hopefully we'll see you again next time.
Thanks for watching, guys. See ya.
Bye.